Dual Cultivation AudioBook by Kevin Chapter 1076 Chun Hua 3. Once he realized that Chun Hua was merely acting satisfied, Su Yang increased the intensity. "Ah, Tilda," Chun Hua moaned loudly, her tone sounding a little different than before. However, Su Yang didn't go all out and merely used enough skills to please a core disciple typically. He was unsure why Chun Hua approached him or her goals, but he was certain she didn't approach him just for a massage. Did they send her to dig information from me? He wondered as he plowed Chun Hua's cave with swift and precise movement, hitting the exact same spot with every thrust. The spot he was hitting also happened to be Chun Hua's weak point. Chun Hua didn't want to admit it and refused to comment on it, but her moans gave away everything. Do they still doubt the origin of the yang qi I am supplying them? Well, it doesn't matter. As long as I continue supplying it to them, they will eventually stop questioning it. Before receiving the sect master's approval, he was an outer court disciple who was prohibited from leaving the sect. Unless he sneaked out or someone smuggled it into the sect for him, there was simply no way for him to receive the yang qi from a friend. The boundless Yin-Yang sect checked all of the guest records, but nobody came to visit Su Yang, so they were certain that he lied about the yang qi's origin. Su Yang knew this would happen, but he didn't care, even if the truth was revealed. His true purpose for taking out such high-quality yang qi was to get the sect leader's attention, and he did so successfully. "Aren't you feeling good? Why aren't you releasing any yang qi? I can't be the only one giving," Chun Hua suddenly said. Su Yang smiled and said, "My endurance is quite high, but I am almost there." After thrusting for several more minutes, Su Yang released a load of yang qi into her cave, filling it completely. "So hot and filling. Is this what it feels to be pregnant?" Chun Hua chuckled. It was clear that Chun Hua still had plenty of energy left. Besides his own family members, Chun Hua had the highest endurance out of his partners since his reincarnation. "Her endurance is very high and even better than some core disciples. Who knew I'd find a talent like this now?" "Let's continue, shall we, or do you need a break?" she asked him a moment later. "I can continue. The first one to give up will owe the other a favor. Sounds fun." Su Yang accepted her challenge. They started the second section shortly after. This time, Chun Hua did most of the moving. As Su Yang lay on the bed, Chun Hua's hips elegantly danced on top of him. Su Yang recognized the technique she was using because it was one of the most popular techniques for inner court disciples when he was a disciple using his real identity. "Let's see how many laps it'll take to make you release your next load of yang qi." Each lap involved 28 movements, each providing the receiver with a different sensation of pleasure. Most inner court disciples last only 7 to 10 laps, with the more experienced ones able to endure 20. As for core disciples, most of them could easily endure over 100 laps. 19th lap. "Wow, your endurance surpasses most inner court disciples," Chun Hua commented as she started the 20th lap. 50 laps later. "You're halfway at the level of core disciples. I have never seen an outer court disciple like you before," Junior apprentice brother Zio. Not wanting to go overboard, Su Yang released his yang qi when Chun Hua was almost done with her 55th lap. After a brief break that lasted exactly 2 minutes, Su Yang started the third session with him in charge again. The two of them would take turns pleasuring the other, spending 3 whole days cultivating with enough intensity to knock most inner court disciples unconscious. In the end, Su Yang tapped out and declared his defeat. Of course, he could have continued cultivating, but he didn't want to reveal too much of his abilities so soon, and he wanted to see what kind of favor Chun Hua would ask of him, as that could potentially reveal her ulterior motives. "I'm glad you tapped out because I wouldn't have been able to continue after another hour or so," Chun Hua said as she lay on the bed with a body drenched in sweat. "Really? You look like you can continue for another week," Su Yang teased in a somewhat joking manner. If I could do that, I would already be a core disciple, she sighed. If you took the examination right now, I think you have a good chance of passing. Letter 1D453, letter 1D633, letter 212F, letter 212F, letter 1D500, letter 212F, letter 1D4EB. Letter 1D624, letter 1D630, letter 1D4F6. Oh. You make it sound like you know about the examination for core disciples, but you're just an outer court disciple who recently joined the sect, so how's that possible? It's just an assumption since you're already so experienced and talented. Why, thank you, she chuckled. Unfortunately, the requirements for core disciples are very strict and demanding. I'll need another decade or so before I can even start thinking about it. And you can only take the examination once every 50 years, so I want to be certain that I will pass before even attempting to take it. Sometime later, after resting enough, Chun Hua spoke. Now let's talk about the fiery Yang Cavern, shall we? I will return in a day or two after I figure out the schedule. Once we find an empty slot, we'll sneak you inside. Sure, he said in a calm voice. You sure about this? This is your last chance to back out, you know. If I back out now, that means I cultivated with you for nothing, he smiled. How mean. Do you have any idea how many people want to cultivate with me? Chun Hua puffed her cheeks, trying to pretend to be angry. Jokes aside, I am certain that I want to do this. Su Yang suddenly turned serious. Okay. Chun Hua acknowledged with a similarly serious face. Chapter 1077 Yang Chi King. Then I'll see you in a day or two. Chun Hua left Su Yang's living quarters shortly after cleaning up. Su Yang decided to wait until after Chun Hua returned with the fiery Yang Cavern schedule before going to the mission hall and accepting any more missions. After adjusting his plans, Su Yang made his way to the Grand Yin-Yang Peak to meet up with Elder Yao and supply her with some more of his Yang Qi. He showed the guard of the peak Elder Yao's medallion and entered the Grand Yin-Yang Peak without any issues. Sometime later, he knocked on Elder Yao's door and waited for her to come out. Where have you been? Elder Yao greeted him with a frown on her pretty face after opening the door and realizing it was him. I left the sect to do some missions. You didn't know, he asked. I've been busy, she sighed. If I weren't so busy, I would have gone to your home to check up on you since you haven't supplied me with any Yang Qi in a while. Why are you so occupied? He asked, his curiosity piqued. With the Yang Qi King just around the corner, the sect's been swamped with pill requests from the core disciples, she sighed. Yang Qi King? What is that? Su Yang raised his eyebrows in a puzzled manner. This event never existed back in his days, so it was something new even for him. You don't know about such a popular event? Oh, right. You joined the sect recently. After realizing this, she explained the event. The Yang Qi King is a competition where every disciple can submit their Yang Qi to be examined and graded by the sect. The disciple with the highest quality Yang Qi will be crowned Yang Qi King for the next 100 years. The Yang Qi King Qi will not only be granted special access to the scorching Yang sauna, but they'll also be rewarded a golden sun pill. Scorching Yang sauna and even a golden sun pill. What a generous event. Su Yang commented out loud. The scorching Yang sauna was a sanctum for tempering the body. By spending half a year in this place, one could acquire a body that can withstand extreme heat and naturally produce more Yang Qi. Unfortunately, the steam required to temper the body requires a lot of time to produce, so only one person could enter it every 100 years. This place used to be reserved for the prime disciple, but clearly, things have changed since Su Yang left. As for the Golden Sun pill, not only was it a great elixir for boosting one's cultivation, but it was also great for increasing the quality of one's Yang Qi. Can any disciple participate in this event? Su Yang then asked. Of course, but only core disciples and some inner court disciples actually participate for obvious reasons, she said. Don't tell me you plan on participating. While your yang qi is above average for an outer court disciple and even beats some of the inner court disciples, it doesn't compare with the core disciples, who had spent much more time and effort improving their yang qi than you. However, if it's your yang qi supplier, that will be a different story. Unfortunately, he's not a disciple of the sect, so he wouldn't be able to participate anyway. Su Yang calmly shook his head. That is indeed quite unfortunate. Elder Yao said with a hint of sarcasm in her tone. Anyway, here is the yang qi. Su Yang handed her 20 bottles of yang qi. This will more than make up for the 3 months of dry supply. Thank you. Elder Yao trembled in excitement after seeing so many bottles. Su Yang returned to his living quarters shortly after and spent the rest of the day cultivating. Chun Hua returned the very next day. The fiery Yang cavern will be fully occupied for the next 2 months, but starting on the 2nd week of the 3rd month, there will be 14 days of unscheduled time, so you'll have the other half of the month to use it. Chun Hua revealed the schedule to him. What if that time gets filled during these next 2 months? He asked. That won't happen because it's a downtime meant to allow the place to recover its resources. Nobody will be allowed to visit during that time. The 3rd month's schedule is already filled, too, she explained. Su Yang didn't doubt her claims, as it was common practice to shut down such places periodically to allow them to replenish their resources. Continuous use without breaks could deplete the resources entirely, causing the place to cease functioning properly. If you're worried about potentially draining the place completely, you should know that ignoring the downtimes once in a while won't damage the place. You would need to continuously use it for centuries to exhaust these kinds of places fully. Moreover, the sect rarely ignores these downtimes, so messing with it once every several years won't do it any harm. In simpler terms, not taking a break every once in a while won't break down the place, so you can go inside and cultivate worry-free. Naturally, Su Yang had no such worries in the first place. He could tell if a place was about to lose its powers with a glance, so he could easily avoid these issues. I understand, he calmly nodded. Then I will come pick you up in 2 months, she said. Chun Hua did not linger and left shortly after. 2 months, huh? I can do at least 2 missions. Not wanting to waste any time, he immediately went to the mission hall to accept more missions. Sometime later, he picked out 2 high-priority missions and went to get them approved. You're going back out already. With 2 missions, too. The same sect elder who checked him out last time was surprised to see him again so soon. Chapter 1078 Sukshuan. Is there something wrong with me accepting more missions? I thought disciples are encouraged to accept as many missions as possible. Su Yang asked with his head tilted in a puzzled manner. No, there's nothing wrong. And you are right. Disciples are encouraged to accept missions since it increases our reputation and karma. The sect elder grabbed the missions and started recording them down in his scroll. You will have 2 months to complete these missions. Here are your necessities. The sect elder handed him a pouch with the usual items inside. Su Yang left the mission hall and returned to his living quarters to notify Mei Ying and Mei Xing of his departure. Stay safe, manager, Mei Xing said. It's not like I'm going out to fight spiritual beasts or anything like that. Sometime later, Su Yang left the boundless Yin-Yang sect. 3 days after Su Yang left, a small figure appeared above the boundless Yin-Yang sect and used spiritual sense to sweep the entire sect. Using spiritual sense on an entire sect was highly frowned upon, akin to spying, and could be mistaken as a declaration of war. Due to this, it was an unspoken rule in the cultivation world to never use spiritual sense on a wide scale whenever one is near a sect or any place with a large settlement. However, this small cat-like figure couldn't care less about such human rules. Moreover, it was confident that nobody would be able to sense its spiritual sense. I don't sense the phantom cat's presence here. Maybe they haven't returned to the sect yet. Su Xuan wondered to herself after failing to find Xiao wrong. However, a certain area within the boundless Yin-Yang sect immediately piqued her interest when she saw it due to how elaborate it was. That area was the Outcast Peak. More specifically, Su Yang's living quarters. Right before Xing Aiying left Su Yang's side, she'd created several top formations around Su Yang's living quarters to protect him. As one of the best formation experts in the divine heavens, Xing Aiying could make her formations invisible and undetectable by even other top formation experts, so she wasn't worried about her formations catching any attention. In fact, even the Heavenly Emperor would not be able to detect her formations if she really wanted to conceal them. However, even Xing Aiying could have never anticipated that a phantom cat would appear in the boundless Yin-Yang sect and sweep the whole place with spiritual sense. A phantom cat's spiritual power is so obscenely powerful that no other existence in the divine heavens even comes close to it, much less rival it. Furthermore, paired with their treasure-seeking ability, nearly everything in this world is visible to them if they want to see it. After discovering Su Yang's living quarters, Su Xuan approached it to take a better look at the formations. Her transparent figure approached the building, her presence non-existent. There are only 3 formation experts I can think of who could possibly create such a skillful formation, and one of them is from the Su family. Su Xuan proceeded to spend the next few days studying the formation while she waited for Su Yang's return. On the 5th day, she noticed a small human coming out of the house to sweep the front door and the area around the house. She is the definition of out of place. Why is a little girl like her in this sort of place? Is that woman inside her guardian? Her cultivation is too weak to be a disciple, so she must be a servant. They were probably brought here by that man with the phantom cat, but why? Su Xuan quickly comprehended their situation. A few more days later, Su Xuan observed a young lady wearing disciple clothes approach the building. "Good morning, Miss Luo," Mei Ying greeted her. "Hey, I'm just here for a wellness check. Is everything okay? Did anyone bother you?" Luo Li asked. "No, it's been really peaceful here. Disciple Zio's really something, though. He's completed 3 high-priority missions as an outer court disciple, and he's now out to do 2 more. He's not only talented but hardworking as well," Luo Li said. "The manager is definitely a hard worker. I've known this since our time in the City of Pleasure." Mei Ying agreed with a head nod. "Disciple Zio, huh?" Su Xuan suddenly had an idea. She consumed an appearance-altering pill and transformed into a disciple. Then she left the Outcast Peak and pretended to enter the place for the first time. "Hello, is Disciple Zio here?" Su Xuan approached Luo Li and asked. "No, he's out doing missions." "Do you know when he'll return?" "He left only a few days ago, but he'll be back within 2 months," Mei Ying said. Su Xuan sucked her teeth in an annoyed manner when she realized that she missed him by a few days. "For what purpose are you looking for Disciple Zio?" Luo Li asked, her eyes examining Su Xuan from top to bottom. "Oh, I'm a friend of his. He visited me first, but I wasn't available at that time, so I am visiting him now." "Disciple Zio's friend?" Luo Li raised an eyebrow. "Yup, his friend." "By the way, is his cat home?" Su Xuan suddenly asked. "Cat, Disciple Zio has a cat." Luo Li looked at Mei Ying for answers. However, Mei Ying shook her head and said, "No, he doesn't." Since Zio Rong typically spends her time exploring outside, she rarely sees Mei Ying or Mei Xing. Whenever she does show up, she's always in her human form, so Mei Ying wasn't aware of her true identity. "He doesn't. He told me he had a cat at home. Perhaps I'd misheard," Su Xuan said in a puzzled manner. Her acting was so good that neither Luo Li or Mei Ying suspected anything. "How did you become friends with Disciple Zio?" Luo Li asked out of curiosity. "How we met, huh?" Su Xuan's expression suddenly became nostalgic as she recalled an old memory of hers. "He found me when I was on the brink of death and saved my life. That's how we first met." Su Xuan spoke in a gentle voice. Chapter 1079. Su Xuan 2. He saved your life. When did this happen? Was it recently? Luo Li asked. No, it happened a long time ago. I doubt he even remembers our first encounter. Su Xuan shook her head in a slightly dispirited manner. Huh, a long time ago. You met him before he was a disciple. Luo Li didn't expect this development. Indeed, I was young and reckless back then, so I often found myself in danger. After doing many things, karma eventually caught up with me. If it weren't for disciple Zio, I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. Su Xuan revealed this information for the first time since that event. Su Xuan had intended to keep this information secret forever. However, after Su Yang's death, she often found herself sharing stories of their past before she even realized it, as if reminiscing was her way of keeping his memory alive. Luo Li suddenly chuckled and said, "You make it sound like you've been alive for thousands of years when you're probably just 100 years old or so." Su Xuan silently smiled without responding. After a moment of silence, Su Xuan said, "Since he's not here, I will come back another day. See you later, fellow disciple." She quickly disappeared from the outcast peak. However, Su Xuan didn't leave the boundless Yin-Yang sect and actually made her way to the mission hall. Despite having never been a disciple, Su Xuan has visited the boundless Yin-Yang sect on many occasions enough to know the whole place like it's on the back of her hand. Of course, she did it in secret, and it was hidden even from Su Yang. Upon arriving at the mission hall, Su Xuan walked straight to an open reception and asked the sect elder, "This is an emergency. I'm looking for a disciple Zio. He left a few days ago on 2 missions." "What kind of emergency?" the subconsciously sect elder asked. "His family was murdered. I need to notify him immediately." Oh, the sect elder no longer asked any questions and immediately looked into their logbook. "Disciple Zio, he accepted 2 high-priority missions. I'll give you the locations of where he's supposed to meet his client." "Thank you, elder. You're a lifesaver." Su Xuan bowed to him. Once she received his location, Su Xuan left the boundless Yin-Yang sect and sped towards them. Meanwhile, Su Yang just met with his client face to face. She was a mature widow with a seemingly insatiable lust. "It's nice to meet you, madam. I'm Zio Yang." Su Yang introduced himself with a gentle smile. When the client saw his face, she nearly teared up. "Why, you look so much like my late husband who passed away 300 years ago. During his younger days," she muttered with a dazed expression. "Oh, you have my condolences." Su Yang kept the smile on his face, but he was a little surprised inwardly because he had picked the disguise randomly. The woman slowly approached him with her hands raised, looking like she wanted to touch his face. "May I?" she asked. "Of course." The woman proceeded to caress his face gently and passionately, tears forming in her eyes. She stopped a few moments later and smiled. "Thank you very much. I know it must have felt awkward for you." "No, I don't feel that way at all. I feel the love you had for your late husband and it's very warming." Su Yang smiled. "Ah, I cannot hold myself any longer, please. I want you to touch me all over my body." The woman spoke with a lustful gaze on her face. "With pleasure." It was now Su Yang's turn to touch her. He caressed her face just like how she'd caressed him a moment later, but he moved lower and lower from her neck to her massive breasts that resembled 2 melons. He eventually removed her clothes and started massaging her entire body. Once she was wet enough, Su Yang plugged his thick rod inside her ripe cave. "Ah, Tilda," the woman moaned loudly. "Yes, Tilda, yes, Tilda, I want you to do me harder." Sometime later, when the woman was fully absorbed in their passionate cultivation, she subconsciously changed the way she addressed him. "That's the spot, dear. Oh, Tilda, yes." This wasn't Su Yang's first time role-playing as the husband, so he didn't mind it at all. A few hours later, Su Yang filled her body with his Yang Qi. However, the client wasn't done yet and proceeded to lick all over his body before moving to his sword. Without hesitation, She gobbled up the monster and began making sloppy noises. The oral skills of a married woman with immense lust never ceases to amaze me. Su Yang chuckled inwardly. After spending many minutes slurping his rod, she started riding him like a horse, her massive breasts bouncing up and down. They would continue to cultivate non-stop for an entire week straight before taking a break. Although my late husband lacked the techniques, his endurance more than made up for it. You, however, have both endurance and techniques. I have never felt so satisfied since his passing. I don't want to say this, but you're essentially a superior version of my late husband. I'm humbled, but I can never replace your late husband. After a moment of silence, she spoke. Do you want to put that to the test? Become my husband. I may not seem like it, but I have quite a significant influence around this place. You surely won't regret it. I appreciate the offer, I truly do. However, I already have a family of my own. She looked at him with a surprised face and said, Dual cultivators are truly something else. I wouldn't dare do this if my late husband was still alive. After chatting for a little longer, his client initiated their second session, which would go on for another week straight. Towards the end of their second session, a presence neither Su Yang nor the woman could sense approached their room. Chapter 1080 Su Xuan 3. He's pretty good at dual cultivation, but it's definitely nowhere near Su Yang's level. Su Xuan thought to herself as she analyzed Su Yang's cultivation with his client through her spiritual sense. Naturally, she knew it was highly likely that he was hiding his true skills. However, she couldn't tell so quickly, as she just arrived. As she watched more of their cultivation, Su Xuan became convinced that Su Yang was hiding his true skills. Normally, if Su Yang seriously wanted to hide his skills, not even the sect master of the boundless Yin-Yang sect would be able to tell. However, he was currently alone with a client, so he didn't put too much effort into hiding his skills. Su Xuan watched Su Yang's cultivation session until the very end. Thank you very much for letting me experience what it is like to be young again. I will never forget our moment together for the rest of my life. Su Yang smiled and said, You can always send another request to the boundless Yin-Yang sect for another session. Do you have any idea how many disciples I sent back before I met you? She asked. You can request specifically for me. That way, I'll receive your request directly and you won't have to go through the hassle. I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. I'll definitely send you a request whenever I can. Then I'll see you next time. Su Yang left the hotel and made his way to his next client. Unbeknownst to him, a cat-like figure was following behind him, watching his every movement. Su Xuan thought about stopping him for a conversation, but she decided to watch over him a little longer. Several days later, Su Yang arrived at the designated meeting spot with his client. It was an outdoor restaurant with a pavilion built on top of a small pond. He sat there for an entire day, occasionally ordering food and drinks. However, nobody showed up even many days later. Despite this, Su Yang didn't leave and continued to wait. A few pretty ladies approached Su Yang when they noticed a handsome man sitting alone, but he politely refused them. The restaurant's manager was aware of Su Yang's purpose there and didn't make things difficult for him, even accommodating him with drinks at times. With only 2 weeks left on his schedule, a figure approached his side. Hello. Su Yang turned his head to look at the ordinary-looking young lady standing beside him and smiled. Yes. Despite her ordinary face, the young woman wore high-quality robes. Are you? The woman's expression was incredibly bashful. Indeed, I am waiting for Miss Li. The young lady immediately bowed and said, I'm so sorry. I was held up by my family and couldn't show up earlier. Su Yang knew that she was lying because he'd noticed her watching him for the last several days. However, he kept this to himself and played along with her. No problem, we still have plenty of time. Miss Li didn't immediately respond, her profound gaze on his calm and handsome face. You don't mind me? Miss Li asked a moment later. I don't understand. What wouldn't I mind? Su Yang wore a genuinely puzzled expression on his face. Miss Li showed a faint smile on her face before responding, "Never mind. Let's go, I know a place." Su Yang nodded and followed her to a hotel located 2 blocks away from the restaurant. Once they were inside, Miss Li sat on the bed and said, "My name's Li Dai. What's yours?" "Xiao Yang. This is my first time doing something like this, so I am a little nervous," she said. Su Yang could tell that she was telling the truth about being nervous. Even at the restaurant where she was hiding, she was quite anxious. Perhaps that's why it took her several days to approach him, because she was building up the courage. When he first looked at this high-priority mission, it was noted that the client was frequently absent, so very few disciples actually met with her. As for those who were approached by her, none of them made it to the hotel for some reason. Her puzzling actions made the boundless Yin-Yang sect wonder if she was just messing with them. However, Li Dai had already paid for the request ahead of time, so the sect just left it be for the time being. "It's okay, take your time," Su Yang said with a calm smile. "Okay," Li Dai nodded. For some reason, she felt really comfortable around him. The other disciples were either too aggressive or she simply didn't feel comfortable approaching them. This is why it took her so long to find a suitable partner. Silence filled the room as Li Dai sat on the bed with her eyes staring at the floor. "Do you mind if I sit next to you?" Su Yang asked, his voice as gentle as a pillow. "Sure," she nodded. After another moment of silence, Su Yang asked, "Is there a reason you're forcing yourself to do this?" Why do you think I'm forcing myself?" She looked at him, seemingly astonished. "For starters, you're clearly hesitant about doing this. Secondly, you're still a maiden. Now, why would someone like that send a high-priority request to a place like the boundless Yin-Yang sect?" Li Dai stared at him with her mouth wide open. How did he know she was a maiden? After a moment of silence, she sighed, "Because I feel left out. All my friends at the sect have experienced sex and they're always talking about it. Meanwhile, I have no experience, so I feel left out. I'm ugly, not to mention my shy nature, so this is the only way for me to have sex." After learning of her situation, Su Yang said, "I won't tell you how you should find your partner or that you should value your first time more, but I will ask you this: are you certain you want to do this? It's not too late to turn around." Chapter 10, 81 Sukshuan 4. Li Dai became even more hesitant after hearing Su Yang's words. Seeing her like this, Su Yang said, "How about this? I can let you experience sex without actually experiencing it for real." Li Dai's eyes flickered profoundly after hearing his words. "Really? You can do that?" "Yes. It's a technique that will let you experience dual cultivation inside your mind, akin to a dream, and it's almost indistinguishable from reality." "Let's do that instead," she immediately said. Su Yang nodded and said, "Lie down on the bed and close your eyes." Li Dai followed his instructions. Once she was lying on the bed, Su Yang placed 2 fingers on her forehead and used World of Pleasure on her. Meanwhile, Li Dai didn't feel any different and wondered how long it would take for the technique to take effect. Are you done yet?" Li Dai asked, her eyes still closed. Suddenly, she could feel someone caressing her face. Surprised by this, Li Dai quickly opened her eyes to find Su Yang caressing her face. "Xiao Yang, you're already affected by the technique. Just relax and let me do all of the work," he said. "Okay." Li Dai couldn't tell if he was messing with her or if she was actually dreaming right now. Everything about their situation felt too real for her to distinguish it. This is exactly just like he'd said, but what if he's messing with me? What if there's no such technique and we're actually doing this for real? She wondered inwardly. While she was in deep thought, Su Yang suddenly began removing her robes. Even though she was confused, Li Dai did not put up any resistance. "Whatever, even if he's messing with me, it's what I came here for anyway." With that thought in mind, Li Dai decided to follow the flow and allowed Su Yang to do whatever he wanted to her body. Once her clothes were fully removed, Su Yang began massaging her body. Li Dai immediately clenched her teeth when Su Yang started kneading her large breasts like dough. Her body looked modest at a glance due to her clothes, but it was quite plentiful underneath them, especially her breasts. Relax, you don't have to hold your voice back. It'll feel much better to let it out. Li Dai nodded and began moaning softly. As the pleasure in her body intensified, so did her voice. MMMH, MMMM tilde, on tilde. Li Dai's lower lips quickly became soaking wet, her entire body tingling with delight. Once her body was ready, Su Yang removed his clothes, revealing his dragon to her. Li Dai's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets when she saw his massive dragon. Are they typically that big? She couldn't help but ask. Su Yang shrugged. How would I know? I am not into that sort of thing. Then will that really fit inside my body? She asked another question. Of course, our body is surprisingly flexible, he reassured. Su Yang gave her little sister a few slaps with his rod before poking the entrance with it. Li Dai immediately clenched her teeth again. I'm going inside now. Su Yang warned her before tearing her maiden hole open. Ah! Li Dai was not prepared for the immense pain and screamed loudly. Sometime later, once the pain passed, Su Yang began moving his hips, rubbing her inner walls with his thick rod. Ah tilde, ah. Li Dai's sweet voice filled the room. Su Yang suddenly leaned over and kissed her. To think I would lose my virginity before I have my first kiss, she cried inwardly. As time passed, Li Dai's boldness grew, as did her desire for more pleasure. Ah tilde, yes tilde, faster tilde. T there. Keep poking me right there. Li Dai lasted only several minutes for her first time, but she quickly regained enough stamina to go another round. Over the next several days, Li Dai indulged in an experience that she never thought was possible. Sometime later, Li Dai slowly opened her eyes and sat up on the bed. She noticed that her clothes were on, but she was certain that she fell asleep during their cultivation. How was it? Su Yang, who was casually sitting on the floor, asked her. Huh. Li Dai stared at him with a puzzled face. Your first experience. It was amazing, but she looked at her clean clothes and noticed that the bed was not wet. I told you that it was indistinguishable from reality, right? Your pure yin essence is still intact. What you experienced was just by my technique. That was all a dream, she exclaimed, looking bewildered. You unbelievable, I thought you tricked me, she told him the truth. Su Yang chuckled. I don't blame you. Anyway, are you satisfied? Dai nodded, but she suddenly appeared hesitant again. What's wrong? After a moment of silence, she spoke. I want to experience it again for real this time. Do you mind? Are you sure? Yes, I am certain this time. We still have time, right? We have plenty. Li Dai took the initiative to remove her clothes this time. Sometime later, she experienced losing her virginity for a second time, but she didn't scream out loud this time. Meanwhile, Su Xuan was smiling to herself the entire time. A world of pleasure. Unless he passed it down before leaving this world, it's definitely him. She was fully convinced that he was Su Yang and tried her best not to shed tears but failed to do so. Ah, Su Yang, what in heaven's name is going on? Why are you still alive? And what are you doing back at the boundless Yin-Yang sect playing disciple? Su Xuan sighed inwardly. A week later, Su Yang said goodbye to Li Dai and prepared to return to the boundless Yin-Yang sect. However, right as he stepped outside the hotel, a mythical power invisible to the eyes surrounded him, causing him to vanish like a ghost. Chapter 1082 Kitten. After being teleported, Su Yang found himself in an unfamiliar place. He was surrounded by trees, seemingly deep in a forest. Nearby, he could hear the gentle sound of flowing water. The atmosphere was serene, with fresh, clean air that made him feel instantly relaxed. Unfortunately, he couldn't afford to relax, so he remained vigilant as he quickly analyzed his surroundings. Xiao Rong emerged from his dantian, ready to protect him. However, even with all-seeing celestial eyes, no matter how much he tried, he couldn't sense anyone around him. Can you sense anything? He asked Xiao Rong, who also shook her head. If even Xiao Rong can't sense them, we should be alone here. Just as he thought they were alone, a female voice resounded. "Do you know where you're at?" Su Yang was surprised to hear the voice, since this meant they were dealing with an individual even Xiao Rong couldn't sense. It's highly likely they're using a treasure to hide from Xiao Rong's spiritual sense. "Who are you, and why are you doing this?" Su Yang asked out loud. "Just answer my question. Do you remember this place?" The voice responded. Seeing how the voice had no intention of hurting them at the moment, Su Yang decided to play along. He flew into the air and examined his surroundings more closely. "I don't recognize this place, but it does feel familiar," he thought to himself. "I'll give you 1 hour to remember. If you fail, I'll kill the both of you." The voice resounded a few minutes later. However, it only took several minutes before Su Yang started to recognize the place. "Isn't this the training grounds outside the Fleeting Sword sect?" Su Yang eventually remembered. The first sect he ever joined was the Fleeting Sword sect, and they had an outdoor training area several miles away from the sect. This location greatly resembled that area. It took a while for him to remember, since it had been countless years since he visited. "I recognize this place," he said out loud once he was confident in his answer. "It's the Fleeting Sword sect's outdoor training ground." After a moment of silence, the voice returned. "Are you certain that's your answer? I'll kill you if you're wrong." "Yes, I am willing to bet my life on this answer." "You're correct. This is indeed the Fleeting Sword sect's training ground. Now onto the second question. What did you do there? Everything you did?" Su Yang raised an eyebrow at this question. "What? Don't tell me you've never been there before, even though you recognize this place." As if the voice could read his mind, they said, "You don't have to pretend anymore, Xiao Yang, or should I call you Su Yang?" Su Yang didn't expect his identity to be exposed in such a manner, but he wasn't panicking either. "Since they went out of their way to bring me to this secluded area, I doubt they have any intention of exposing me, but I cannot understand the purpose of this. Is this one of them playing a trick on me?" Su Yang wondered if it was one of his family members messing with him, as they were the only ones who were aware of his return. In a composed manner, Su Yang closed his eyes and began speaking as he recalled his past at the Fleeting Sword sect. The training ground had one purpose: to let the Fleeting Sword sect disciples experience the outside world as a cultivator. The sect captures spiritual beasts and tosses them into the training ground for the disciples to hunt. I visited that place often when I was an outer court disciple, spending weeks at a time hunting spiritual beasts. I would occasionally find treasures there. Of course, these treasures were planted by the sect to encourage its disciples to go there. That's all I did there." "Are you sure that's all you did there?" the voice asked. "Of course. What else would I do there besides hunting spiritual beasts? I cannot think of anything else." "I will give you one last chance, Su Yang. When I say everything, I mean it literally." Seeing how stubborn this voice was being, Su Yang returned to his memories to see if he'd missed anything. Since this person is adamant I left something behind, it must be pretty significant, and it's directly related to this person. But I really don't remember doing anything too significant there besides hunting spiritual beasts. As he pondered, Su Yang subconsciously looked at Xiao Rong, who was still alert and on the lookout for any potential danger. "Huh, wait a second." Looking at Xiao Rong gave his memories a quick jolt, allowing him to recall something out of the ordinary. "I remember now." He showed a face of realization. "During one of my usual routines at the training ground, I encountered something that did not belong there, a kitten. This kitten was hurt at that time, so I gave it some medicine and even brought it back to my living quarters, where I let it rest until it fully recovered. However, even after it fully recovered, it would follow me around for a few more years. Then one day, without any notice, the kitten left. That's everything that I did at the training ground, and my answer is final." The voice did not return. Suddenly, Su Yang noticed a small figure appearing from the corner of his eyes. He immediately shifted his head to look at this figure. The figure belonged to a white cat, and it looked really familiar. Zio wrong. Su Yang raised his eyebrows. However, Zio wrong was right beside him, so this cat couldn't be her. Yet this cat looked exactly like Zio wrong in her beast form when she had her powers sealed. This is my first time appearing before you in this form. The cat spoke in a calm yet trembling voice. Huh, that voice. Without her voice disguised any longer, Su Yang instantly recognized it. Su Xuan, is that you? He muttered with wide eyes filled with shock. Chapter 1083 Zio Rong's origin. After hearing Su Yang call her name, Su Xuan transformed back to her human form, becoming the ethereal beauty of the autumn phantom manner. Upon confirming her identity, Su Yang released a sigh of relief and said, "This isn't good for my heart, Su Xuan." "And whatever you're doing is good for the heart," she sneered. "I have my reasons for doing so. I'll explain it to you in a bit, but first. You were that kitten I found at the fleeting sword sect. Why didn't you tell me before?" "I didn't feel like it," Su Xuan shrugged. "Was our second meeting a coincidence, or did you make it seem like one?" Su Yang continued inquiring with a gentle smile on his face. The next time he met Su Xuan, she was already in her human form, and she never mentioned their past until today. "Who knows?" Su Xuan shrugged. "Anyway, you better have a good explanation for why you're still alive and pretending to be a disciple of the boundless Yin-Yang sect." She pointed at him with an angry expression. "I am not pretending to be a disciple, though. I am a genuine disciple who joined with the Yin-Yang badge of acceptance. As for why I am still alive, it's because I reincarnated after my death." "You reincarnated? And how long has it been since your return?" "About 2 decades ago, I guess." "However, I didn't reincarnate within the 4 divine heavens, but somewhere else, somewhere far away that I still have no idea its exact location. I'll explain the whole story to you, but can we do it somewhere more suitable?" In response to his request, Su Xuan snapped her fingers, and the entire world around them transformed. In the blink of an eye, Su Yang found himself standing before a humble house on a lonely, desolate star, the vast emptiness of the cosmos stretching out in all directions. "Where are we?" he asked out of curiosity. He thought she had brought him inside her spatial device, but that no longer seemed to be the case. "Somewhere far from the 4 divine heavens, where no one can intrude or spy on us. Here, you can relax and remove your disguise." "Unless you're telling me that's your new appearance after reincarnation," Su Xuan said, her voice tinged with curiosity. "No, this is just a disguise." Su Yang removed his disguise, revealing to her his much superior, handsome face. Su Xuan appeared to be astonished by his appearance. "Why, you look just like when you found me at the fleeting sword sect, young and innocent." "I'll take that as a compliment." Su Yang smiled. Once they were seated, Su Yang began recalling his experience after his reincarnation. Meanwhile, Zio Rong, who was sitting on Su Yang's lap in her beast form, stared at Su Xuan's face without blinking. For some reason, even though she didn't recognize Su Xuan, she sensed a nostalgic feeling coming from Su Xuan. Su Xuan noticed Zio Rong's intense glares and would occasionally give her a brief glance, even smiling at her. Sometime later, after listening to Su Yang's whole story, Su Xuan nodded. "I understand your situation now, but I still have a lot of questions. Who was that old man who killed, then reincarnated you? What happened to your original body?" "I don't know anything about that old man, but I visited you for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to see if you knew anything about my original body, since your ability to track things is second to none. Secondly, I wanted to see if you knew anything about Zio Rong's origin as a fellow phantom cat. You heard from the kittens that she's lost her memories, right?" Su Xuan pondered for a moment before responding. "I know your original body was stolen during the funeral, and I already tried looking for it, but something else came up midway. So I had to put that on hold until I sorted out my own problem." Even someone as exalted as you have problems. What happened? Su Yang asked with a slightly surprised face. A family member of mine suddenly went missing, so I went to look for her, she said. The little kittens you have at the Autumn Phantom Manor. One of them is missing, Su Yang asked. No, they're all there. And although they're also family, the family I am talking about is blood-related. Su Yang was surprised to hear this since he always thought she had no family members. Anyway, I don't need to find her anymore because I have already found her, so I'll start looking for your original body seriously now. I see, thank you. Su Yang didn't put too much thought into Su Xuan's words since it was already resolved. However, Su Xuan was not finished speaking and continued. As for Xiao Rong, I know her origin. In fact, I know her quite well. Really? You're not messing with me? Su Yang had hoped for this outcome, but he wasn't too hopeful. She nodded and said, well, she's my sister after all. Su Yang immediately raised his eyebrows at her words. What? Xiao Rong is your sister? How? Before he could even finish his sentence, Su Xuan confirmed. That's right, the phantom cat on your lap is my sister, my twin sister to be exact. Su Yang wore a look of disbelief, rendered speechless. He had always known that Xiao Rong had an extraordinary background, but he had never expected this outcome. Even Xiao Rong was quite shocked to hear this news. You're my sister. Xiao Rong stared at her with wide eyes. Su Xuan nodded and explained, yes. Normally, only one phantom cat may exist at a time. However, by some miracle, the universe birthed the two of us together, making us twins. If you don't believe me, I can share with you our memories together. Heavens, what kind of coincidence is this? To think I would meet your missing sister and form a blood contract with her after my reincarnation, even bringing her back to you. Su Yang looked at Xiao Rong, who appeared to be in deep thought. Chapter 1084 Su Xuan's Memories. Coincidence. I think this is fate at work. Su Xuan responded to Su Yang's comment. She turned to look at Xiao Rong and continued. So, what do you think? Want to see my memories of our time together? Instead of giving an immediate answer, Xiao Rong turned to look at Su Yang, almost as if she was asking for permission. Su Yang showed a gentle smile and said, this is not something for me to decide. You have the ultimate decision here. Xiao Rong nodded and shifted to look at Su Xuan. I want it, she calmly said. Okay, transform into your beast form. Su Xuan said as she transformed into a small cat who looked identical to Xiao Rong in her beast form. Sure enough, once Xiao Rong transformed and stood before Su Xuan, it looked like she was in front of a mirror. The two of them looked exactly the same. Even when Su Yang used spiritual sense to examine them in closer detail, he could not see any physical difference between them. However, despite their uncanny identical appearance, their aura and demeanor were very easy to differentiate. Su Xuan had a dignified demeanor that rivaled an empress, while Xiao Rong appeared more innocent and calm. I'll share with you my memories now. Don't resist and just let them flow inside your head. Su Xuan said as she pressed her forehead against Xiao Rong's forehead. They closed their eyes shortly after when Xiao Rong began receiving Su Xuan's memories from the moment of their birth. The two of them were born at the exact same time, seemingly emerging from nothingness, as if birthed by the universe itself. After their birth, they remained inseparable, always staying within several meters of each other. They did everything together, from traveling the world to playing pranks on humans. They even shared every piece of food they found. The two of them loved pranking humans, but Su Xuan often took pranking to the extreme, causing enough trouble to be actively pursued by others. However, because of their natural speed, Su Xuan was confident that nobody could catch her, let alone punish her. Her pranks only worsened as time passed, and she eventually started stealing treasures from powerhouses around the four divine heavens. Su Xuan never anticipated the day she would pay for her crimes. Then, one day, due to her reckless behavior and arrogance, Su Xuan was caught in a trap and almost lost her life. However, she managed to slip away at the last moment. By the time she escaped, Su Xuan was so weak that even a wild animal could kill her. That was when she encountered a peculiar human who nurtured her back to health and kept her safe during her recovery. After that incident, Su Xuan stopped being reckless and had a change of character, becoming more serious and dignified. She learned to transform into a human and blended herself alongside other humans. Meanwhile, Xiao Rong refused to change and continued being a troublemaker, albeit not as bad as Su Xuan. Their disparities began to widen, causing a gradual estrangement. In the end, the two of them went their separate ways. Su Xuan focused on her business in human society and lived as a human, while Xiao Rong did her own things. However, while they grew distant and barely communicated, Su Xuan kept an eye on Xiao Rong just in case anything happened to her. One day, Su Yang was pronounced dead. This news greatly shocked Su Xuan, who became so overwhelmed with grief that she forgot about Xiao Rong. By the time she remembered Xiao Rong and tried to find her, Xiao Rong had seemingly disappeared into thin air. Su Xuan used every resource at her disposal as the master of the Otmum Phantom Manor to find Xiao Rong, but to no avail. Despite this, Su Xuan did not give up and continued looking for Xiao Rong. You have no idea how relieved I felt when I realized you were fine. I don't think I would have been able to bear the loss of another loved one so close to me, Su Xuan spoke as she removed her forehead from Xiao Rong's head. Sister, Xiao Rong muttered in a dazed voice. So, do you remember what happened to you? Su Xuan asked a moment later. Xiao Rong shook her head. No, I don't. Is that so? Well, it doesn't matter as long as you're fine, Su Xuan said. Xiao Rong, did you have another name before I named you? Su Yang suddenly asked, as he intended to call Xiao Rong her original name now that she had regained some of her memories. But to his surprise, Xiao Rong shook her head and said, No, I had no use for a name and we only ever called each other sister. She's telling the truth, Su Xuan confirmed. I guess I can continue calling you Xiao Rong. Su Yang smiled. Xiao Rong shook her head and said, Even if I had a name before meeting you, I would still prefer being called by the name you gave me. Although it only took a brief moment for Su Xuan to transfer her memories, Xiao Rong had experienced thousands of years in this short moment, causing her to mature in the blink of an eye. However, even with some of her memories recovered, Xiao Rong still possessed an innocent and playful aura, almost as if that was her true nature. But to think you'd form a blood contract with a human, that truly surprised me, Su Xuan muttered a moment later. If the person contracted wasn't Su Yang, I would have forcibly broken the contract. Huh, you can do that without harming her. I thought blood contracts are eternal, Su Yang inquired with a surprised face. Nothing in this world is truly eternal. Although extremely rare, there are treasures out there that can end any contracts, including blood contracts, she said. I've learned something new again. Su Yang smiled. Thank you for listening to the story on KevinAudio.com Chapter 10, 85 Primordial Phoenix Heart. If you ever feel like ending the contract, you know where to go. Su Xuan said with her gaze on Xiao Rong, who immediately shook her head and responded, I'd rather die than end the contract. Su Xuan shrugged with a slight smile on her face. Anyway, is that all you wanted to speak with me about? She turned to look at Su Yang, almost as if she knew he wanted something else from her. Su Yang smiled and said, I would actually like to purchase some treasures from you. You, Su Xuan suddenly chuckled. Su Yang, even if you had everything you did in the past, you still wouldn't be able to afford whatever I have to offer. What kind of nonsense is that? I may not have been the wealthiest out there, but I definitely had enough to purchase from the Autumn Phantom Manor, he quickly rebuked. Is that so? Then what do you want to purchase from me? What do you have in stock that will boost Yang Qi? Hearing his inquiry, Su Xuan immediately pulled out a piece of blank scroll from her storage ring and handed it to him. The moment Su Yang touched the blank scroll, words began to materialize on it, forming a list of items that matched his desired specifications, almost as if the scroll had the ability to read his mind. "There's less than I anticipated here," Su Yang mumbled after glancing at the list. HMPH. Su Xuan merely snorted at his words. Unbeknownst to Su Yang, Su Xuan would deliberately acquire treasures that benefit Yang Qi just for her, but after his death, she no longer had a reason to do so, hence the lack of stock at this moment. After taking a moment to read through the list of 9 items, Su Yang read 2 of them out loud: the primordial phoenix heart and the incandescent dragon's essence. Su Xuan's eyes widened with shock upon hearing Su Yang mention those names. Not only were these the 2 most valuable treasures in her possession, but they were also compatible with each other, capable of amplifying each other's effects significantly, thus increasing the risks for the consumer. "Don't tell me you're going to consume them in your current state. That's suicide," Su Xuan exclaimed with a worried look on her face. Su Yang smiled and said, "Don't worry, even I am not that reckless. I am just preparing for the future." Su Xuan looked a little more relieved after hearing that he wouldn't be consuming them anytime soon. However, she still frowned and said, "And how are you going to pay for them?" "With my body," Su Yang responded in a joking tone. Seeing the annoyed look on Su Xuan's face, Su Yang quickly said, "You're still not good with jokes, huh? Not when it comes to my business, no." Su Yang pondered for a moment before giving his real offer. "You remember that thing you've always pestered me about selling to you? Would you accept that?" Su Xuan wore a surprised expression on her face and she asked, "You're actually willing to part with that thing? You'd rather die than part with that thing before. What changed?" "Many things," he responded with a slight smile. Su Xuan pondered seriously for a few moments before responding to his offer. "Even if it's that thing, it would only cover the cost of the primordial phoenix heart. However, I'll give you a special discount for helping me reunite with my sister. In addition to that thing, you'll also give me your family seal." "What?" Su Yang's eyes widened with shock after hearing such an unexpected offer. "I think I misheard you. Can you repeat that again?" he said, his face filled with disbelief. Su Xuan suddenly approached him and grabbed his ear, pulling it toward her lips before she repeated in a passionate voice, "Give me your family seal." FRYAWEB ETA OVEL. See Cyrillic letter 473 M. Su Yang's entire being trembled at her voice, which possessed a charm potent enough to captivate even gods. When Su Xuan finally released his ear, and he could see her face again, he noticed it was considerably redder than just moments before. "You're serious?" Su Yang still couldn't believe Su Xuan was asking for his family seal. Although they had their intimate moments before, it was never serious enough, at least that's how Su Xuan made it feel. There was always a thin layer of barrier between them, one that prevented their relationship from advancing past casual dual cultivation partners. "That wasn't the reaction I was expecting. Don't tell me you don't have any feelings for me." Su Xuan wore a disappointed look on her face. "That's not it. From our interactions, you never struck me as someone drawn to the idea of having a family. Seriously, you couldn't tell from those little ones I'd adopted that I am the family type," Su Yang chuckled. "They appeared more like your minions than family." Su Xuan narrowed her eyes at him and mumbled, "So you don't want to?" "It's not that I don't want to, but the idea of exchanging my family seal for geez, that was just a joke." Su Xuan suddenly interrupted. "That thing I wanted is already more than enough to pay for my 2 treasures." Su Yang's eyes widened with surprise. "What? You think you're the only one who's changed after 2,000 years?" Before Su Yang could respond, she continued, I have loved you ever since the day you saved me. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here today." I didn't say anything back then because I was content with what I already had, and I was waiting for you to recognize me, but alas, not only did you not recognize me after so long, but you even died. When Su Yang saw tears appearing at the edge of Su Xuan's eyes, he felt a squeezing sensation in his heart. Sorry. It's fine. And to be fair to you, I never really gave you any hints, so I am also at fault. Su Xuan shook her head. Chapter 1086, responding to Su Xuan's feelings. So, what is your answer, Su Yang? Su Xuan glared at him with a serious expression. Su Yang's face also became serious, and after a moment of silence, he gave her a response. He suddenly held her chin with his hand and leaned forward, giving her a passionate kiss on the lips. A few moments later, Su Yang leaned back and smiled. What do you think of my answer? Su Xuan licked her lips before grabbing his head and pulling him back for more. The two of them spent the next several minutes sharing saliva. In the midst of their kissing, Su Xuan began undressing, revealing her bountiful and mouth-watering figure. Su Xuan's physique was the complete opposite of Xiao Rong, who had a petite frame and small breasts. Su Xuan had long, slender legs, large breasts, snow-white skin, and an unbelievable waist. Her body was so perfect that even the heavens would have difficulty crafting it. You want to do it right now? Su Yang asked, seeming surprised by it. If not now, when? Su Yang's gaze shifted from her to Xiao Rong, who was silently staring at them from only several feet away. Su Xuan realized what he was worried about and chuckled. Since when were you the type to mind being watched? You'd cultivate on the public street if you had the opportunity. I was actually thinking you would mind, he said. Su Xuan turned to look at Xiao Rong and smiled provocatively. No, I want her to watch me. Unbeknownst to Su Yang, a deep-seated rivalry simmered between Su Xuan and Xiao Rong, which began after they went their separate ways. Xiao Rong frowned, yet she refrained from intervening. This wasn't her first time observing Su Yang in cultivation with another, but the fact that his partner this time was her twin sister stirred within her a peculiar sensation she had never before experienced. Seeing that Su Xuan had no issue with Xiao Rong being there, Su Yang retrieved a mattress and placed it beside them. Su Xuan chuckled upon seeing this and said, "This reminds me of the first time we cultivated together. At that time, you also pulled out a mattress from out of nowhere. I remember. We did it in a location similar to this. The overgrown jade forest." They continued kissing a moment later. Once they were both naked, Su Yang rubbed his stiff rod between the slippery slit between Su Xuan's legs. Your body may be younger, but that sword of yours is just like I remember. Su Xuan smiled at this detail. Is this what it would have been like if we had cultivated during our first encounter? If I hadn't dedicated all of my love to a single woman, then perhaps, Su Yang said. Oh, right. You didn't start your deviant path until much later. Deviant. I'll show you deviant. Su Yang smiled as he suddenly shoved his entire dragon into Su Xuan's cave without warning. Ah, tilde! Su Xuan released a loud moan, her expression immediately turning vulgar from the pleasure. I thought I would never be able to feel this sensation again after your death. Thank you for coming back, Su Yang. Su Xuan cried inwardly as her breasts bounced up and down from the impact of Su Yang knocking on the end of her cave. After pounding Su Xuan's cave for several hours straight, Su Yang released his Yang Qi into her body, but he didn't imprint his family seal on her yet. After unplugging his rod from her cave, Su Yang flipped her body around and plunged his rod into her rear end. Ah! Su Xuan released a surprised moan. What is this? You've never touched my butt before, Su Xuan exclaimed. I figured you would like it since you're Xiao Rong's twin sister. Su Yang chuckled. Judging by your expression, I guess it's safe to assume you love it. Why, you deviant, she cursed at him. However, she didn't tell him to stop, nor did she even attempt to stop. As a matter of fact, she was even rocking her body back and forth, matching Su Yang's movement and rhythm. Xiao Rong stared at them with an envious gaze, her petite body burning with passionate urges. Her body was also becoming more fidgety as time passed. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and before they realized it, they had been cultivating for an entire week straight. Unfortunately, Su Yang had to end their cultivation soon, as he had to enter the fiery Yang cavern soon. After releasing his Yang Qi into her little sister one last time, Su Yang imprinted his family seal onto Su Xuan's body. You're done already?" Su Xuan asked after seeing the family seal. "Regrettably, I have to return to the boundless Yin-Yang sect soon," he sighed. "Are you sure it's not because you're out of energy and you're too ashamed to admit it?" Su Xuan said with a teasing voice. "Even if that's the case, it'd be due to my lack of cultivation. Anyway, let me tell you the family rules before I activate the seal. Unless you've changed the rules, I already know it and I accept. You're the only one I have ever and would ever allow to touch my body," she said. Su Yang nodded and activated the family seal with his blood the next moment. The instant Su Yang activated Su Xuan's family seal, Luo Zi, and the others with Su Yang's active family seal sensed a new member. "Welcome to the family, Su Xuan," Su Yang said to her with a warm smile. "You have no idea how long I've waited for this moment," she muttered with somewhat teary eyes. Sometime later, Su Xuan retrieved the primordial phoenix heart and the incandescent dragon's essence, handing it over to Su Yang. "As for the treasure you want, you can either wait for me to retrieve it or you can retrieve it yourself. You should know its location, right?" Su Yang said after putting away the two treasures. "I'm not in a rush to acquire it, so I'll wait for you to give it to me. Moreover, it won't be the same if I grabbed it myself," she said. "All right." Chapter 10, 87 Fiery Yang Cavern. "So, what are you going to do now, Su Yang?" Su Xuan asked him as he prepared to leave. Su Yang popped an appearance-altering pill inside his mouth, returning to being Xiao Yang, and said, "I'm going to return to the boundless Yin-Yang sect and work my way into their eternal Yin-Yang cave." "The eternal Yin-Yang cave, huh? So your goal is celestial Yang Qi. I guess things are different now that you can cultivate celestial Qi." "Huh? You knew?" Su Yang looked at her with a slightly surprised face. "I can taste it in your Yang Qi, albeit very little, almost non-existent. How did you manage to do that when even your old body couldn't achieve such a thing?" "I think it has something to do with my cultivation technique." "You changed it. Don't people normally go for something they're already used to?" "Yes, but this one is simply too good. I'm sure you've heard of it before. It's called the celestial body refining scripture." "What? That's the heavenly emperor's cultivation technique." Su Xuan cried out loud, her face filled with shock. Su Yang smiled at her normal reaction and said, "With this technique, I'll not only be able to surpass my previous limit, but I can finally aim for the true peak of cultivation, celestial god." "Good luck with that. Not even the heavenly emperor could reach that level." Su Yang chuckled and said, "And does the heavenly emperor have the celestial constitution?" "You're going to build another celestial constitution. Do you remember how much chaos that caused in the past?" Su Xuan rubbed her eyes. Su Yang had incited chaos and offended countless people in his past efforts to acquire his celestial constitution. Su Xuan found it hard to imagine witnessing such turmoil unfold once again. However, if you're able to acquire the celestial constitution, even I cannot imagine how far you'll go. Unfortunately, I still have a lot of things to do before I focus on that." Su Yang sighed. Sometime later, Su Yang and Su Xuan kissed each other one last time before Su Xuan sent him back to the front of the hotel where she initially kidnapped him. "I'll be seeing you again soon, Su Yang," Su Xuan's voice resounded inside his head. While Su Yang returned to the boundless Yin-Yang sect, Su Xuan returned to the Autumn Phantom Manor. "What took you so long to return, elder sister? You said you'd only be gone for a month at most. Did you find that rude mortal? Did you teach him a lesson? What about the phantom cat Xiao Rong? Did you convince her to join us? Bombarded by questions, Sukshuan shouted, "Shut up for a moment." Once the place was dead silent, Sukshuan spoke. "From now on, you'll respect that person as if he's your father." "What? That mortal? No way. Did he do something weird to you, elder sister?" The ghost cats were in disbelief. Even if she would entrust her own life in their hands, Sukshuan didn't dare to expose Su Yang's identity to them just yet, fearing that one of them might accidentally reveal his identity since they are still young and inexperienced. "Enough! I will not allow anyone to badmouth him, even if it's you girls. You may not know this, but he saved my life before. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here right now," Sukshuan said to them in a stern voice. "As for Zio Rong, she's in good hands, so you don't need to worry about her." The little ones were speechless. They couldn't fathom how a mortal could save Sukshuan's life, but there was no reason for Sukshuan to lie to them. "Since he saved your life, I guess we can give him some face and show some respect the next time he visits. Is that why you gave him the family medallion? It makes sense now. Elder sister, are you going to leave again soon?" Sukshuan shook her head and said, "No, I no longer need to leave since I have already resolved my business outside. I will return to managing the Autumn Phantom Manor with the rest of you." "Really? That is great." The little ones were ecstatic to hear this news. Meanwhile, after he returned to the boundless Yin-Yang sect, Su Yang reported his missions. "This is the 5th high-priority mission you've completed in a row. Just how do you do it?" The sect elder was left speechless by Su Yang's achievements, something that even core disciples would have difficulty accomplishing. "I just got lucky," Su Yang smiled. "Whatever, here are your rewards." The sect elder handed Su Yang some points and spirit stones for his work. Su Yang returned to his living quarters afterward. "I still have 2 days before I enter the fiery Yang cavern. Let's use this time to prepare myself." Su Yang looked at his spatial ring, which contained the primordial phoenix heart and the incandescent dragon's essence. Although he told Sukshuan that he wouldn't use them anytime soon, it wasn't entirely true. "Welcome back, manager." Mei Xing greeted him at the door with a bright smile on her face. "Congratulations on your breakthrough." Su Yang smiled back. "Thank you, manager, welcome back." Mei Ying came out after their voices. "You also had a breakthrough. Congratulations." "This is all thanks to the Yang Qi you left behind." Mei Ying smiled. "Anyway, I have some business within the sect in 2 days, so I'll be leaving again soon. I won't be gone for long this time, though. You guys can return to your cultivation." "Okay." Su Yang took out the primordial phoenix heart and examined it intently for several moments. Once prepared, he carefully sliced off a tiny piece, no larger than a grain of sand. Then he retrieved his cauldron and proceeded to refine a pill with it. "This should be good enough." He nodded with a satisfied look on his face after examining the pill. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and Chun Hua showed up at his house early in the morning. Chapter 1088, Peak of Sovereign Spirit Realm. "I hope you've prepared yourself, disciple Zio." Chun Hua greeted him with a mischievous smile. "I'm plenty prepared. I hope the same could be said about you. I have triple-checked the schedule and even visited the fiery Yang cavern earlier. It's completely empty there. You're good to go. Let's go then." Su Yang and Chun Hua made their way to the fiery Yang cavern shortly after. In the boundless Yin-Yang sect, the Yang Nourishment Peak stood as a notable area, featuring places like the fiery Yang cavern. It was among the most populated areas within the sect, primarily because of its unique purpose. Male disciples frequented this location to enhance their Yang Qi, making it a hub of activity and training. Before they entered the Yang Nourishment Peak, Su Yang and Chun Hua consumed an appearance-altering pill just in case. Sometime later, they arrived at the fiery Yang cavern. The location was somewhere between the middle area and the peak of the Yang Nourishment Peak, where the profound qi was more abundant than the lower areas. The fiery Yang cavern itself appeared to be an ordinary mountain at a glance, but there were hundreds of powerful arrays and formations that protected and maintained the place. There were 4 entrances to the fiery Yang cavern, and all of them were opened. Typically, there would be guards at each entrance, but since the place was closed and disciples were prohibited from entering, it was completely empty at this moment. "All right, go ahead. You have 14 days inside, but come out on the 13th day to be safe. I'll keep watch out here just in case, so you can cultivate in peace." Chun Hua gestured for him to enter the fiery Yang cavern. The boundless Yin-Yang sect enforced strict rules prohibiting certain behaviors among its disciples, especially engagements involving cultivation resources. If caught engaging in these forbidden activities, the consequences were severe, almost invariably resulting in expulsion from the sect. However, Su Yang was not new to breaking sect rules. In fact, he has broken nearly every sect rule in his past life. Moreover, there was a good chance he wouldn't face expulsion even if he were to be caught due to the Yang Qi that he supplied the sect. Without an ounce of worry, Su Yang confidently entered the fiery Yang cavern. Seeing Su Yang's relaxed behavior left Chun Hua dumbfounded. Can't he act nervous even a little? It's almost as if he's eager to break sect rules. And isn't he worried that I might be tricking him with a trap? Chun Hua wondered inwardly. Su Yang had a lot of enemies within the outer court due to his massage business, and he had already experienced foul play before, so it would only be natural for Su Yang to doubt everything. Inside the fiery Yang cavern, the walls were adorned with beautiful, glowing red flowers. These flowers emitted a unique scent that stirred the Yang Qi inside Su Yang's body, causing his little brother to awaken. Once he reached several hundred meters into the cavern, Su Yang was greeted by a large cenote filled with steaming hot water. Just by breathing in the steam, Su Yang could feel his Yang Qi strengthening. However, Su Yang didn't stop there and continued walking deeper into the cavern. The fiery Yang cavern was divided into 3 distinct areas, each designed to offer different benefits to the cultivators who trained there. The outer area, which Su Yang had just encountered, was intended for beginners. Here, the waters were imbued with properties that significantly increased one's Yang Qi recovery rate. Due to his low cultivation base, it would be an ideal spot for Su Yang if it weren't for the fact that he already had endless Yang Qi. In his past life, he was born with a unique body that gave him inexhaustible Yang Qi. But in this life, he had a powerful technique that allowed him to recover his Yang Qi so quickly that it was essentially limitless. The second area of the fiery Yang cavern was smaller than the first, designed specifically for those in the divine realm. This section focused on enhancing both the quantity and quality of one's Yang Qi. Su Yang was only at the sovereign spirit realm, so cultivating there would be incredibly painful for him. However, he was in a hurry to increase his cultivation, so he decided to cultivate there. The third and innermost area was typically reserved for sect elders. This section was known for its extremely potent effects, so much so that even core disciples found it unbearable, and only the most talented of core disciples would dare to enter. After removing his clothes, Su Yang submerged his perfect body in the steaming water. The second his body touched the water, it began absorbing profound qi automatically, and his cultivation base began to increase at a significant rate. However, it was excruciatingly painful for Su Yang, feeling like he was bathing in needles that constantly pricked his body. Yet, there was nothing on his face that indicated he was in pain. If one were to look at him at this moment, one would think he was actually relaxed. After spending half a day cultivating in the fiery Yang cavern, Su Yang's cultivation had a breakthrough, but he didn't stop and continued. 3 days later, Su Yang's cultivation reached the peak of the sovereign spirit realm. At that point, Su Yang stopped his cultivation and emerged from the water. However, He still had 10 days in the fiery Yang cavern and no plans to leave anytime soon. His gaze shifted towards the third and most challenging area of the cavern, reserved for sect elders. A determined expression settled on his handsome face as he began walking toward it, ready to test his limits and perhaps push beyond them. Upon arriving at the third area, Su Yang retrieved the pill he had prepared using the primordial phoenix heart and stared at it nervously. Chapter 1089 Breakthroughs. The third area of fiery Yang cavern was already challenging enough for Su Yang despite his breakthrough. Yet, he also planned on consuming a pill that could easily kill someone at his current cultivation. Even with my heaven-defying cultivation technique, this is incredibly reckless and risky. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to take things slowly. He closed his eyes and took a long, deep breath. Ah, the things I do for you girls. Su Yang tossed the pill into his mouth and leaped into the water. Almost instantly, his body began to expand, as though it were on the brink of bursting from the overwhelming surge of profound qi from both the water and the pill. Veins bulged across his entire body, then began to burst, spraying his blood in every direction. Once his entire body was drenched in blood, it began healing at an astonishing speed, quickly returning to its original state. However, the moment he fully recovered, his body was damaged again, restarting the cycle almost instantly. This relentless cycle continued for several hours until, suddenly, Su Yang's body was engulfed in flames that seared his skin and hair away in an instant. An unimaginable pain surged through Su Yang's entire being, as if he had been thrown into the heart of the sun, with 1,000 swords piercing his body. Su Yang had plenty of painful experiences in his past, including being tortured for months, but even his most painful moments couldn't be compared to the excruciating pain he was experiencing at this moment. Furthermore, the pain only worsened as time passed. He felt as if he was on the verge of collapsing, but he desperately held onto his consciousness by the thread. If I lose consciousness and fail to control the profound qi even for a split second, my body will explode, and I will perish. While Su Yang's mind was fully occupied by the pain, his body was experiencing a profound transformation from his yang qi to the foundation of his physique. Every cell in his body was being reformed and enhanced. His bones grew stronger, and the quality of his yang qi increased. Yet, the most significant transformation was in his physique, which had long stagnated due to a shortage of resources. Over the next several days, the pain and effects of the pill combined with the fiery Yang cavern continuously increased, but Su Yang's endurance also became stronger to the point where he could cultivate with a calm appearance. Of course, his body was still experiencing excruciating pain. Meanwhile, Chun Hua noticed a figure wearing a specific robe for the disciplinary squad approaching the fiery Yang cavern. He must be here for a random inspection. How annoying. Chun Hua quickly approached this individual before he could use his spiritual sense on the fiery Yang cavern, which would expose Su Yang. "Excuse me, you're from the disciplinary squad, right?" Chun Hua approached him with a nervous appearance. "Yes, that's right. Is something wrong?" "Good. There's an issue at the Yang spiritual waterfall that needs your attention before it gets out of hand," Chun Hua said with urgency in her tone. "The Yang spiritual waterfall, what a pain in the ass. There's always trouble there. Anyway, I'll go take a look. Thank you for warning me." The disciple didn't find Chun Hua's actions suspicious and didn't bother questioning her further, as the Yang spiritual waterfall was known to be a rowdy place where disciples frequently fought for the best spots. "Thank you, senior brother." Once the disciple left, Chun Hua retrieved a communication jade slip and spoke to it. "Go cause some trouble at the Yang spiritual waterfall. Do it right now." "What kind of trouble?" a voice responded. "I don't care. As you wish." Chun Hua returned to guarding Su Yang afterward. I wonder how strong he'll be after coming out. If he cultivated in the second area, he should be able to reach the peak of sovereign spirit realm in 13 days. 11 days have passed since Su Yang entered the fiery Yang cavern. Chun Hua would occasionally hear screams of pain coming from the place. On the 12th day, Su Yang emerged from the water, now entirely tainted by his blood, transforming it into a pool of crimson. His already flawless body had transcended perfection, and his aura was now countless times more formidable. His physique, which hadn't advanced for some time, had now reached the astonishing peak of the divine spirit realm. His cultivation, which had only recently reached the peak of the sovereign spirit realm, soared past the divine spirit realm, shattered through the 7 mortal spirit realm, and ascended into the 5 divine realm, reaching the first level of the divine origin realm. It's been a while since I last experienced such significant breakthroughs. The effects are better than anticipated, and even my celestial chi increased slightly. I'll have to thank Su Qiuwen properly the next time I see her. However, to avoid raising too many eyebrows, Su Yang suppressed his cultivation to the first level of the divine spirit realm. Though he still had a day remaining at the fiery Yang cavern, Su Yang decided to leave early, realizing it would no longer provide him with significant benefits. Before leaving, Su Yang tossed a pill into the water to accelerate the purification process of the fiery Yang cavern. Although the cavern naturally cleansed itself of impurities, he worried it wouldn't be quick enough. Once the pill dissolved, it took less than 10 minutes for the water to return to its pristine and pure state. However, the depleted spiritual energy and potency of the fiery Yang cavern couldn't be restored so quickly. In just 12 days, Su Yang had exhausted at least a decade's worth of the cavern's vitality. The cavern's drastic decrease in vitality during its resting period will definitely raise some eyebrows, but there's nothing I can do about it. Su Yang shrugged and left the fiery Yang cavern, feeling like he just experienced a rebirth. Chapter 1090 Delayed Heavenly Tribulation. When Chun Hua noticed Su Yang coming out of the fiery Yang cavern, she examined his body before approaching him. First level of divine spirit realm, huh? You have slightly surpassed my expectations, but why did you come out already? You still have an entire day inside. I won't benefit any more from the place, so I left early, he said. Chun Hua couldn't believe what Su Yang had just said and quickly responded, "Won't benefit you? What kind of nonsense is that? The fiery Yang cavern is beneficial for anyone below the 5 divine realm, and even for those whose cultivation is above that level, it can still enhance their Yang Qi." Su Yang shrugged and said, "If given enough time, sure. However, I only had a day left at best. I don't want to risk getting exposed over such minor improvements." "I guess that makes sense." Chun Hua mumbled after hearing his explanation. Su Yang continued speaking. "Anyway, I am going to leave now. I'll contact you later so I can thank you properly." "Huh, what do you mean?" Chun Hua wore a puzzled look on her face. Su Yang smiled and said, "I find it unlikely that you would put yourself at so much risk just to cultivate with me. There's something else you want from me, right? You can tell me about it later. As long as it isn't out of my abilities, I'll help you." A profound smile appeared on Chun Hua's face, but she didn't reveal anything else and only said, "Then I will be waiting for you. Then I'll take my leave now. You seem to be in a hurry to leave. Do you have an appointment with someone?" she suddenly asked. "Yeah, I do." Before Chun Hua could say anything else, Su Yang flew away. Chun Hua didn't leave the fiery Yang cavern until Su Yang's silhouette completely disappeared from the horizon. Once he was gone, Chun Hua turned to look at the fiery Yang cavern and entered the cave Su Yang had cultivated in. Wow, he exhausted so much vitality from the fiery Yang cavern in just 12 days. There's no way he could have absorbed this much from cultivating in the second area. He must have cultivated in the third area. How bold and reckless. Chun Hua didn't stay in the fiery Yang cavern for long and left almost as soon as she entered. Meanwhile, Su Yang searched for a secluded peak in the boundless Yin-Yang sect. Due to how fast I broke through to the divine origin realm, and with the formations in the fiery Yang cavern, my heavenly tribulation was delayed. However, I can feel it quickly approaching. Typically, to transition from the 7 mortal spirit realm to the 5 divine realm, a cultivator must face and endure a heavenly tribulation. However, Su Yang forcefully broke through with the aid of a powerful treasure, and his presence was partially concealed by the formations within the fiery Yang cavern, causing the heavenly tribulation to be delayed. Heavenly tribulations cannot be avoided and are inevitable. Furthermore, if delayed, the heavenly tribulation becomes even more powerful, increasing the risk and challenge for the cultivator. For this reason, most cultivators choose to face their heavenly tribulations as soon as possible. Within the boundless Yin-Yang sect, there are empty peaks designated for this exact purpose. Once Su Yang found a suitable spot for his heavenly tribulation, he swiftly set up several formations around the area to conceal his presence and reduce the chances of being disturbed. After all that was done, Su Yang sat in the lotus position and waited for the heavenly tribulation to occur. A few minutes later, the temperature and atmosphere on Su Yang's peak changed dramatically. The clouds above him darkened, swirling ominously as if a powerful thunderstorm was imminent. Su Yang looked up and smiled. "What's taking so long? You're just a minor tribulation. Get this over with and stop wasting my precious time." Bang! As if in response to Su Yang's provocation, the dark clouds unleashed a lightning strike as thick as a mature tree directly at him, accompanied by a deafening thunderclap that rippled throughout the boundless Yin-Yang sect. "Someone's facing a heavenly tribulation in our sect. Is it a disciple or an elder that's making the breakthrough?" The disciples were curious about this individual's identity, but they knew better than to disturb someone undergoing a tribulation. Whether it was a rule of the sect or a general rule among cultivators, interrupting another's tribulation was strictly frowned upon. Free Omegeb novel, see Gujarati, Ushunya, Anus M. However, as long as they didn't interfere with the cultivator, it was acceptable to observe the tribulation. Consequently, many experts in the sect used their spiritual senses to watch from a distance. An outer court disciple. I don't recognize him. Wait, he's already at the divine origin realm, but the heavenly tribulation hasn't ended yet. Did he manage to break through before the tribulation could even begin? He's enduring the heavenly tribulation as if it's nothing. Who is this genius, and how is he only an outer court disciple at that cultivation? The spectators were shocked by what they were witnessing. Furthermore, Su Yang had changed his appearance before the tribulation began to avoid being recognized. He also lifted the suppression on his cultivation, revealing his true level to everyone watching. The heavenly tribulation ended after 99 lightning strikes, and Su Yang emerged from it without a single scratch on his body. The spectators were eager to approach Su Yang and learn more about him, but he quickly left the scene. They attempted to track him with their spiritual senses, but Su Yang's movement technique had reached a new level after his breakthrough, enabling him to disappear like a ghost. Damn, he got away. Who the hell was that anyway? He must have been in a disguise to avoid attention. I highly doubt he was an outer court disciple too. He just entered the divine origin realm, so he must be an inner court disciple at the very least. We'll find out his identity if anyone attempts to become a core disciple in the near future. With their prey having disappeared, the spectators departed soon after chapter 1091. Chun Hua's request. After dealing with his heavenly tribulation, Su Yang returned to his residence at the Outcast Peak. "Hey Xiao Yang, haven't seen you around in a while. Been busy?" Li Sang was leaving the Outcast Peak just as Su Yang returned. He nodded. "Yes, I've been busy with sect missions." "Is that him? Wait a minute, your cultivation." How the heck did you reach the divine spirit realm in such a short amount of time? Su Yang showed a humble smile on his face and said, I had a fortuitous encounter outside the sect while doing my mission. Outside? But you're only an outer court disciple, Li Sang exclaimed. Then he remembered rumors about an outer court disciple who had received special permission from the sect leader to leave the sect for certain missions. Why, you must be that outer court disciple from the rumors. I can't believe it. How did you manage to do that? I also want to leave the sect. You wouldn't be able to replicate it even if I told you. Su Yang shook his head. Anyway, I'll see you around. Su Yang swiftly entered his living quarters, leaving Li Sang speechless. Welcome back, manager, Mei Ying greeted him. Now that I have some time, want to cultivate? Su Yang wrapped his arm around her slender waist and said, Of course. Mei Ying nodded with a bashful smile. Su Yang proceeded the next 2 days cultivating with Mei Ying, further boosting her cultivation. Ever since Su Yang gave Mei Ying a pill that transformed her constitution and enhanced her talents, her progress had accelerated dramatically, rivaling even those considered geniuses in the boundless Yin-Yang sect. However, the thing that assisted her cultivation the most was Su Yang's potent Yang Qi. Now that he strengthened his Yang Qi even further, Mei Ying also reaped his benefits. When do you plan on improving Mei Xing's talents? And is there a reason you only improved mine? Mei Ying suddenly asked him. He nodded and said, I want her to experience what it's like to cultivate without any talent so that she doesn't grow up to be too complacent, but the most important reason is that she's too young to consume the pill. Once she's of age, I'll reform her talents. I see. Thank you for everything. Don't mention it. The next day, Su Yang left the outcast peak to travel to the inner court. His reason for going there? To investigate Chun Hua's identity. While he was grateful to her for what she had done for him thus far, she was simply too suspicious to ignore. Once he was at the inner court, Su Yang asked around about Chun Hua under the guise of trying to court her. Of course, he disguised himself as an inner court disciple before doing so to make it more convenient. Senior apprentice sister Chun. She's an introvert and doesn't speak much. Junior apprentice sister Chun is a bashful but determined girl. She likes to read and play the zither. You want to court sister Chun Hua, but she's already taken. After spending a whole day gathering information on Chun Hua, Su Yang realized that she was nothing like how others perceived her. Introvert, bashful. That's the complete opposite of how she appears before me. Although the stark difference in her character was suspicious, it didn't concern Su Yang too much. After all, most people behave differently depending on who they are with, and some take that to the extreme. At the end of the day, Su Yang went to find Chun Hua in her living quarters. You're here much faster than I anticipated. Did you miss me that much? Chun Hua joked immediately after answering the door. I don't like to owe debts, he said. Chun Hua gestured for him to enter. Please come inside. However, Su Yang didn't move and said, Are you sure? What if your partner shows up? Chun Hua chuckled. You asked around about me. If you're that interested, you could have just asked me directly. I don't have any problems with that. Anyway, in response to your worries, we broke up shortly before I approached you, so you don't need to worry about my partner. Is that so? Su Yang didn't say anything else and entered her living quarters. Once inside, Chun Hua led him straight to her bedroom and gestured for him to sit on the bed. However, Su Yang sat in her chair instead. You're no fun. Chun Hua sighed as she lay on the bed. So, what do you want from me? He went straight to the topic. Why don't you take a guess? Just one is fine. Su Yang pondered for a moment before responding. Since you went out of your way to risk expulsion sneaking me into the fiery Yang cavern, I guess you want me to do something as risky, if not even riskier. Wrong, she instantly responded. While it's risky, it's not in the way you're thinking. I want you to participate in the Yang Qi King. Yang Qi King? Su Yang raised an eyebrow. Is this why she led me to the fiery Yang cavern? To improve my Yang Qi and enter this competition? He wondered inwardly. Why would you want me to participate in something meant for inner court and core disciples? Because I think you'll be able to win it. Of course, even if you don't, that's completely fine. I just want you to participate in it. And how does that benefit you? It doesn't. I just want to see how the others will react if someone who just joined the sect wins the competition. Of course, this will put you in the spotlight. Attention, huh? This must be the risk that you're speaking of. You don't want it. Even if you want to remain Loki, you're already past that point and you're someone who will inevitably attract attention. After all, that is the kind of person you are. Su Yang smiled and said, "If you'd made this request before I snuck into the fiery Yang cavern, I would have declined. However, now that I am more capable, I have no plans of staying Loki." "Does that mean," he nodded, "yes, I'll participate in the Yang Chi King?" Chapter 1092, It Won't Bite Unless You Want It To. That's great. Chun Hua was very delighted when Su Yang agreed to participate in the Yang King Chi. Although Su Yang didn't mention it, he was already interested in the Yang Chi King when he initially heard about it from Elder Yao. Even if Chun Hua hadn't requested Su Yang to join, he would probably participated anyway. Chun Hua continued speaking. The Yang Chi King has already begun accepting submissions, and every disciple has 30 days to hand in their Yang Chi if they wish to participate. So you have another 23 days to submit your Yang Chi. Most disciples wait until the last day to submit their Yang Chi to get the most out of it. Is that so? Upon learning this information, Su Yang decided to submit his Yang Chi as soon as possible. I should adjust my Yang Chi so that it's not too suspicious since the sect already has information on my Yang Chi. It'd raise eyebrows if he suddenly submitted Yang Chi that far surpassed what he'd given them a few months ago. Moreover, Su Yang still had to decide if he wanted to win the competition or just participate. Freewibben Sigmaval. See Cyrillic letter 473M. The rewards might be highly tempting to inner court disciples, and even some core disciples. But the Golden Sun pill was useless to Su Yang. The scorching Yang sauna, although beneficial as it was essentially an upgraded version of the fiery Yang cavern, wouldn't provide him with significant advantages due to his high cultivation base. As for his Yang Chi, it was already at a level where only extremely powerful treasures or places like the eternal Yin-Yang cave could enhance its quality further. If I am going to participate, I should definitely try to win it. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time. Su Yang made a swift decision. He was someone who refused to lose, no matter what he was doing or how insignificant it might be. Do you have any information on those who will definitely be participating? For instance, who is most likely to win the competition? Su Yang suddenly asked. Chun Hua pondered for a moment before responding. Hard to say since there is always surprise participation from those who claim they wouldn't participate. If you want an accurate answer, you will have to wait until the very last day. After all, we'll only know the participants at the end of the competition when the results are out. You want me to wait until the last day for what? Do you have a way of acquiring a list of all participants? Even if he waited until the last day, they wouldn't know who had participated until the results were announced. The only way Chun Hua could have such information would be if she somehow obtained the participant list on the very last day, right before the submission deadline. Yes, I know someone who can acquire the participant list, she responded confidently. Su Yang smiled and said, "No, it's fine. I don't want to owe you any more." "Then what are you going to do?" "I'll just have to make sure to submit Yang Chi that won't lose to even the top disciple in the sect." Chun Hua's jaw dropped and she said, "How are you so confident? Even if you cultivated in the fiery Yang cavern for 100 years, I doubt you'll be able to defeat the top core disciples." "I was hoping you would get lucky with this year's participants and somehow win. I don't really expect you to win. You know that, right?" "No, I don't." Su Yang narrowed his gaze on her and said, "In fact, I'm sure you expect me to win." Chun Hua fell silent at his claims. Whatever, if you say so, she eventually shrugged it off. Anyway, you got any more questions about the Yang Qi King? He shook his head. No, not really. Then how about a quick cultivation session with me before you leave? I want to experience for myself what makes you so confident that you'll be able to win. Chun Hua licked her lips. Quick, Su Yang smiled. I'm not sure you mean what you say. Don't mind the small details, she chuckled. Su Yang didn't refuse and spent the next 3 days cultivating with Chun Hua. Where do I go to submit my Yang Qi? Su Yang asked her right before leaving her living quarters. You can give it to any sect elder, she answered. Thanks. After leaving Chun Hua's place, Su Yang immediately made his way to Elder Yao's living quarter. Sometime later, he knocked on Elder Yao's door. Elder Yao appeared before him shortly after and without saying anything to him, extended her hand out, almost as if she was expecting something from him. Su Yang knew she wanted his friend's Yang Qi, so he handed her 3 bottles. After receiving the bottles, Elder Yao said, "See you next time." And she began closing the door. However, Su Yang moved his foot forward, preventing her from closing the door. What do you want? I'm extremely busy nowadays and don't have the time to entertain you, she sighed. I'm here to submit my Yang Qi for the Yang Qi King competition. Seriously? Elder Yao's face became dumbfounded. Seriously? Why are you asking me? This was the first time a disciple approached her for submission. You're the only sect elder I'm close to, he casually said. Why, you can't do it. I was told I could submit it to any sect elder. Elder Yao rubbed her eyes and sighed. Fine, get in here. She opened the door to let him inside. After Su Yang closed the door behind him, Elder Yao retrieved an empty vial and handed it to him. Fill the vial with your Yang Qi. I'll need to see you do it, Elder Yao said. Despite the seemingly ridiculous request, Elder Yao spoke in a nonchalant tone, as if it were a completely standard procedure. After all, if they accepted pre-prepared submissions, there was a risk that the participant could cheat by using someone else's Yang Qi. Thus, the participant must submit their Yang Qi on the spot before a witness. Sure. Su Yang didn't have any issues and swiftly loosened his robes, revealing his already awakened dragon. Elder Yao's eyes widened, and she even jumped back a little when she saw Su Yang's large sword, as if she had been jump-scared by it. Seeing her surprising reaction, Su Yang teased, "Don't worry, it won't bite unless you want it to."